Welcome back into that Sean podcast. And we had some special stuff for you this week. Cat Daddy, what's on your mind?
It's about time we get to take an early look at the fantasy football landscape. And over the next few weeks, we're going to be going through positions, going through the 4 Bs to keep your eye out for, or ears out for. So we have the brand new, the rookies who should be on your radar. We have breakouts, players who are primed for big jump career years. We have bounce backs, somebody who played poorly previous season, maybe coming off an injury. We're expecting to turn it around. And then we have busts. Now for me, and correct me if I'm wrong or if I have the wrong mindset, but busts has 2 different definitions. First, it can mean a player did not perform when he was given the opportunity. And second, it can mean a player did not perform up to his draft position, which a lot of times may be based on the previous year's success or previous year's numbers. So I just wanted to throw those out there and see if you agree with me, because I don't want a whole bunch of people adding me on social because they think I think their quarterback sucks.
I think
it
they suck.
may not be worth the draft capital that you're paying for.
I think the quarterback sucks. I'm just saying it out loud.
Just gonna go. All right.
Yeah, straight up. Anyways, let's get into it. So, let's start with that first one. Let's talk about the rookies. Are there any rookies you're looking out for?
So I still maintain my opinion and belief that no rookie quarterback should be starting this season. For fantasy purposes, I'll be avoiding them in redraft leagues. Maybe considered in the late rounds if you're in a keeper league, and they're far more attractive if you're in a dynasty league. But with the reality that some rookie quarterbacks, will be seeing time this season for a variety of reasons, here we go. For redraft purposes, I'm going with the quarterbacks who are more likely to see the field as rookies. So I have 3. How many do you have?
I have myself. Well, I'm sure we have some overlap, to be honest, but I have 3, but in theory only 2.
All right, so we'll try and limit this. We'll see if we have overlap. But my first quarterback, who I think has the most potential to see the field this year, is Kenny Pickett with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I disagree, but that's okay.
And a lot of that's just given that first-round price tag that he has on him. And I can see him getting on the field as a rookie if Mitch Trubisky struggles or gets injured. I don't feel good about it. I feel it's slightly concerning that he needed a 5th year before he could break out against ACC competition. And it's also slightly concerning that his highest completion percentage was only 67%, and that came in his final breakout season against ACC competition. His grip strength has been called into question with a high number of fumbles throughout his career, and we haven't seen him play in cold weather games. And I'm sure people are out there thinking, but he played in Pittsburgh. That's got to count for something. You're right, he played in Pittsburgh, but the college regular season ends, beginning of November? Any of those postseason games, when you're thinking conference championships, the bowl games, they all happen in warmer climates. So I want to see what Kenny Pickett looks like at Heinz Field in December, in January, when it's snowing, when it's below freezing. So I want to see that.
I'm avoiding Pickett at all times.
I know. I'm just going with he's the most likely.
I get you. I get it. I'm on that train. I'm keeping to my brand. I'm on that train. I'm avoiding Kenny Pickett in fantasy, in real life. I ain't on that bus.
I'm not getting any rookie quarterbacks this year, but for the people listening and watching, I want to give you a rookie quarterback. But I do have something good to say about Kenny Pickett is he has mobility. And that's something that the Pittsburgh offense can really take advantage of.
Move on.
It's something that they were lacking with Ben Roethlisberger over the past couple of years, so it could help open up the playbook.
Trubisky's got more mobility, so let's move on.
Yeah, I don't feel good about Kenny Pickett, and that's where it's at. you want my second one, or do you want to go?
Let's go with your second one.
Second one. The second one, who I think is most likely to see playing time this season, is Matt Corral.
All right.
Sam Darnold wears number 14, which is really ironic because he has never played more than 13 games in a single season. So this means at some point Carolina will be put in a position where they have to start another quarterback or other quarterbacks for a few games. Now, who do they start? Do you go with PJ Walker? Do you go with Matt Corral? If I'm Matt Rule, I'm going with Matt Corral. Corral has a quick release, which could serve him well playing, provided that he's up to speed with processing NFL defenses.
And his footwork.
This won't be the same first read offense that Lane Kiffin ran at Ole Miss.
No.
It'll be a little bit more complex, but
a lot.
He has the mobility that allows him to evade pressure and pick up yards with his legs. Now, just like Kenny Pickett, I don't feel good about drafting Matt Corral in a redraft league because I don't think the value's there. I don't believe in any rookie quarterback should be starting this season.
Here's the thing. All right, let's just preface this. Let's just redraft people. Watch the waivers for these rookies. Do not draft them. Do not draft them unless you're unless you're in a redraft league that has like 4 quarterbacks that you need to have, like a 2 quarterback starting league. Then okay, maybe you're gonna get one late as a flyer. But let's be honest, redraft leagues, I'm even on board with this to say, do not draft these guys. Now, dynasty leagues, you're the guys who are listening to us. Maybe those keeper leagues, but definitely dynasty leagues, listen to this. You guys are the ones we're talking to. These guys are the guys with the most potential to possibly take over these teams and be successful later.
Emphasis on later.
Just wanted to put that out there. No need to that we don't want not redraft. Now, it's fun because neither of your guys are on my list.
I have a third guy, and the third guy might be on your list. Probably is on your list. It's
Most
Desmond
likely.
Ritter.
Yes, he is on my
third
list.
guy.
You want to talk about him? You want me?
Oh, let's see. Falcons are in a rebuild. The expectations are extremely low. The big question is going to be how much room do they give Mariota?
Well, no, but it's also the same thing you just said for the other ones. This is the thing that I'm basing a lot of mine on. So Desmond Ritter is my top one for to possibly be drafted late rounds because, all right, first of all, you do actually have some nice pieces. You have Kyle Pitts. You have Drake London. You just traded for Brian Edwards. You have Cordell Patterson still there. So... And then you drafted Tyler Algier, who's going to see the field. So as long as this offensive line can improve, it's going to be very interesting. That being said, has Marcus Mariota ever played 16 games, let alone 17 games in a single season? I don't believe he has. He's always gotten injured every year.
All right, let's see. No, the most games he played, second and third year in the league, he played 15.
See, so right there, Desmond Ritter's going to see the field unless he completely sucks. That's the only way he doesn't see the field. And I think he will. I think he'll learn a bit, learn enough. No, will he make mistakes this year? Absolutely. But I think he's going to see the field. I think those fans in Atlanta are going to want him to see the field. And what you said about Kenny Pickett, he's also mobile.
Yeah. I mean, you've mentioned before that it fits the Arthur Smith mold of having a bigger, taller, athletic quarterback. And that's what he is. Does he have the accuracy to hold down a job?
My second guy is actually in line with your second guy. Same issues same issues for the transition from college to pros. It's going to be footwork. It's going to be reads, but it is Sam Howell for the Washington Commanders
football team.
So, I mean, let's look at this again. He's playing with Carson Wentz. Has Carson Wentz ever played a full season? No. What was last year? Did he play a full season last year? He missed it. Did he? Last year might have been the most.
Carson Wentz started 3 times in his career. He has started and played all 16 games.
Well,
rookie season, 19, when he was comeback in the case for comeback player of the year, and then last year with the Colts, even with his double sprained ankle.
Yeah. Anyways, he has also played extremely poorly at times. So there may be a point in this season where Carson Wentz is playing extremely poorly, and Sam Howell's just thrust in there. Also, the Washington Commanders offensive line
Football team
is not nearly as good as the Indianapolis Colts' offensive line, or even the Philadelphia Eagles' offensive line. So he's going to get hit. I say he's going to get injured. And my last guy is just based on the potential of the player, considering the quarterback they have and the player, and that is Malik Willis for the Tennessee Titans. Fans will want him to play. There will be games where Ryan Tannehill will look bad. Ryan Tannehill has those games where he just forgot how to play football. And the people are going to sit there and say, well, at least Malik Willis can run. At least Malik Willis can throw the ball further downfield than 20 yards. People are going to say these things. You know it.
It's true. No, it's going to happen.
You know, I'm not saying. So Malik Willis is definitely, especially Dynasty, but even for keeper leagues, that's the guy you stash at the end. You pick him with either your last pick or second to last pick, and you just stash him with the hopes that Ryan Tannehill falls on his face like we all predict he will eventually do.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it first. If you are in a keeper league with Big Ush, you know what he's doing with one of his final 2 picks.
Don't act like you weren't already on this. See, Cat Day tries to play it off. He was thinking about it already.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely crossed the mind because strategy. I'm in it to win it, right?
You know. Anyways, moving on to our next B. I'll let you start.
We're going to do breakouts.
Yes, let's go with the breakouts.
All right. I have 2 guys I have my eye on for breakouts this year.
All right, let's hear your first one first.
All right. First one is Trevor Lawrence.
Really?
Yes. Yes, the fantasy football world and Jaguar fans in general are really hoping for a huge second-year leap from Trevor Lawrence. I mean, after Urban Meyer, there's nowhere to go but up, right? There's only one way you can go. And I think Lawrence will be more productive fantasy-wise this season with an adult leading the team in Doug Peterson.
He's an adult.
I mean, yeah. Doug Peterson almost coached an MVP season out of Carson Wentz. He won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. His offenses in Philadelphia finished in top 10 for pass attempts 4 of his 5 seasons. Trevor Lawrence is going to be chucking the ball again this season, but I feel more confident in the offensive play calling and the general offensive talent around him this year. And it's going to allow him to be a little bit more efficient and a little bit more consistent. I mean, last season, Sam Darnold was more accurate than Trevor Lawrence was. Yep. Think about that. That's got to change. And I feel with Doug Peterson's tutelage...
At the same time, receivers weren't open.
Well, that could come back to the play calling. Who did you have calling those plays? But I feel with Doug Peterson, this could be a huge difference because I think with the tutelage, with the improved coaching, he could double his touchdown passes from 12 to 24, and I think he can add on another 500 passing yards. That would give him a season of 4,100 yards, 24 touchdowns. Plus, let's not forget that Trevor Lawrence has sneaky, and I mean sneaky, rushing upside. Last year, he ran for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Properly used, he could approach 500 yards on the ground.
Why didn't you go for the sneak?
And maybe he could even get a goal line quarterback sneak this season.
Being, a giant.
Just has to reach the ball over. It's not rocket science, Urban.
I don't mind it. I'm here for it. I'm just worried about the weapons that he has at his disposal that is going to be more
better
the same.
This year than they were last year. As much as it's painful to say that, it is better.
All right, who's your number 2?
Number 2 is Trey Lance.
All right. I'm here for it.
That is assuming that he wins the starting job and wins the starting job early. Now, he's a little bit more raw. Doesn't have as much experience facing the NFL defense, but guess what? The NFL defenses don't have a whole lot of experience facing him either, and I think that's where Kyle Shanahan can take advantage of Trey Lance. Because what does Trey Lance have? Huge rushing upside. Kyle Shanahan, I think, can put together some design runs for him, which is going to help boost that overall floor for Trey Lance. Because quarterbacks who are also a rushing threat, they automatically have a higher floor because whatever they gain on the ground, those yards, those touchdowns, it's going to help make up for any deficiencies that come in the passing game. I feel similar about Trey Lance's fantasy outlook this season as I did with Jalen Hurts last season, without the risk of losing his job and probably less garbage time. But I think that general floor of 500 yards on the grounds, 4 or 5 touchdowns minimum is there if he's starting a full season.
All right, so I have 3, and I have a question mark. Now, all 3 of mine, there's just one guy I want to discuss. All 4 are in the AFC. So I'm just going to go my top guy and tell me if this guy does not count. I think he does.
All right, 4 breakouts. Okay.
Yes. My top guy, Tua Tagovailoa.
No, I had him as a breakout, and I had to move him to the bounce back category. Spoiler. Yeah.
How's he bouncing back when he? Yeah, I mean, I think he's a breakout. I don't think he's a bounce back. He was never. First of all, you have to be there first. Which, I mean, 2. I mean, with that said, then, I mean, last year his statistics actually weren't bad at all. He had really solid fantasy numbers last year. So I actually think he's in the breakout because now with better talent, with actual play callers, because let's remember, he had the mess that was the 2 play caller system that Brian Flores had set up there, where you didn't even know where the play call was coming from, and who was his receivers. He had what's his name, Mike
Gesicki, Jalen Waddle,
and Jalen Waddle. That's it. Now we have Jalen Waddle. We still have Mike Gesicki. We have Tyreek Hill. We have Cedric Wilson, who is very reliable. I mean, this team is different now with better coaching. So it's prime for him to break out. He just needs to stay healthy. So I'll argue that with you.
I'm in my bounce back category because I think last season, even the year before, it wasn't where it should have been. I'm not saying it's
right, but you still have to be there to bounce back.
I mean, he was there for 12, 13 games last season.
But
he had the injury.
You're using last. Get out of here with that. You can't use last year as bounce back. Because that was last. I mean, I don't know. I say it's breakout, but we'll wait for your bounce. I'll let you have it. It's just I disagree. All right, my next guy, who also I guess you could put in the bounce back category, which is Mitchell Trubisky. Again, I think you need to be there first, but I think with an offense like Pittsburgh, there's a lot of weapons here. There's a lot of good to be had, especially if Najee can lose the weight. I don't know if you heard about that, but Najee,
He's up a little bit. Yeah.
Came in at 244.
What was that? 14 pounds above normal?
Yeah.
Above playing weight?
Yeah, he's pulling an Eddie Lacy.
Uh-oh. We all know what happened to Eddie Lacy. He developed his own zip code. Had to stay
You
with
know so well about that. But what I'm saying is, like, did the Bears ever have weapons like this? The play callers are better. Mitchell has an athleticism and a mobility that Pittsburgh's never had before. Like Ben Roethlisberger had mobility, but not like this.
Young Ben Roethlisberger, but it's been years since.
But then even young Ben Roethlisberger, he was more of like a trotter, where he's like, once I get going, you're not stopping me. Mitchell Trubisky's actually fast.
He was quicker years ago.
But I mean, you get what I'm saying. He has everything set up for him to take this starting job and put up some numbers. It's set up. So yeah, he's one of my breakout category guys, but I could see him easily on the bounce back.
I mean, you have to remember in Chicago, second year he made the Pro Bowl. He had a great second year, 20.
Yeah, but that's real life. We're talking fantasy.
Receptions. I mean, he put up 3,200
That's why
yards.
I said I could easily see him on the bounce back, but I think he's more of a breakout candidate because he's going to put up. I think he has a chance to put up numbers well beyond what he did in Chicago.
Potential, but the big question for Trubisky is how long is that leash? How long do they allow him to?
Agreed. But if he comes
mistakes?
out like gangbusters, sit that rookie on the bench. Please get out of here. All right, next up, this one, and he played really well at times last year, and he's gonna have a lot of garbage numbers. Davis Mills. I think Davis Mills is going to develop better. I think he's going to have a lot of garbage numbers because I think they're going to be down a lot because it's Houston Texans, and we'll see if he can play. But I think he has a big potential to be a breakout fantasy guy. They're not going to win a lot of games, but he can put up some numbers.
Yeah, he was one of the few rookie quarterbacks last season who had a positive touchdown interception ratio.
Yeah.
Even though he only won 2 out of 11 games he started. Yeah.
All right, so
that's the joy about fantasy.
So my one question, guy, just to spark discussion. Does Zach Wilson have much of a chance to really do any type of breaking out this year? I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. It looks like you don't know either.
The stars are aligning for him to make it happen. The Jets continue to add to the offensive side of the ball.
Except for the offensive line.
I mean, they picked up Laken Tomlinson, who's going to fill in one of the interior spots. But it's getting Mekhi Becton back healthy. I think that'll be huge it'll be huge for the offensive line. And they spent the number 10 pick on Garrett Wilson. So whatever doubt they had about Corey
the next
Davis
round they got Breece Hall.
Exactly. So now when you're with your running game, it's going to be able to. I think it's going to balance out the running game more because I don't think Michael Carter is that pounded out guy. Just like at UNC, he had Javonte Williams there to pound it out. He was a little bit more of that lightning. He was a little bit more of that receiving.
Which is weird because the Jets never used
role.
him in the passing game last year, which was stupid.
Maybe they didn't feel like they had the running back talent to spread him thin, have him do both carries and
you don't believe in Ty Johnson?
Receptions. Crickets. Yeah.
Anyways, back to
then we
the
also
question.
have to remember that the Jets also drafted Elijah Moore in the second round last year.
True.
And he performed very well when he was given the opportunity. He was
when he was
consistently in wide receiver 3 territory when he was healthy and on the field. So the Jets, I think, have a lot more potential in offense. Plus, you're factoring in they signed C.J. Uzomah and Tyler Conklin at tight end, which is going to give Zach Wilson a little bit better safety blanket, safety valve to go to when he gets pressured. So I think overall things are trending.
And they drafted somebody, don't forget that.
Yeah, they drafted Jeremy Ruckerts. And you have to remember that Zach Wilson himself has that rushing ability.
So, all right. So, are you saying yes? There's good potential for a fantasy breakout season.
I will say yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That we'll see how it goes.
What do you think? Do you think it's there for him or no?
Right now, I'm saying no. I say another year. All right. Next up, go with the what's the next one?
Next one is bounce backs.
So
people coming off subpar seasons, coming off injuries, and this is where I have Tua. So for me, the first 2 seasons, Tua struggled both in real life and in fantasy.
I didn't think he struggled that much last year. Go watch the games. I'm telling you, I rewatched the games. He did not struggle. Yeah, he probably struggled with his freaking coaching staff.
He sure did, because who did he have? His first 2 years, he was playing under defensive-minded head coach Mike Tomlin, who was trying to undermine the quarterback position.
Mike Tomlin? You mean Brian Flores?
Oh, Brian Flores. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's with Mike Tomlin now.
It's not even that. It's like, who has 2 offensive coordinators? New England, stop it. Because you're doing the same thing as Miami, and look what happened there.
Yeah. And, I mean, you can make the argument that the environment that Tua was playing in was hardly
not conducive
for success.
But I'm telling you, he had like 300-yard games. He had multiple touchdown games. You had Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle's numbers got better, yes or no, when Tua came back.
Agreed.
So, I just with Tyreek Hill there, with the offense, when the actual offensive line coach, I don't know if you know that part of it. They actually picked up an ex-offensive lineman off the street, say, "You want to be a coach?" Because Brian Flores didn't know any offensive line coaches.
I did hear that. Yeah,
it's nonsense. Like, so with actual coaching for this team, let's see what it can do.
Yep, but I have Tua in the bounce back category. But we both feel the same way, that this is the prime situation for him.
Right.
And we mentioned in previous episodes too. And if the stars are all aligned for him, that if he's not successful this season, I don't know when he's going to be successful.
I truly agree with you there. This is the year he needs to take the bull by the horns, as they say. All right, next up.
Yep. All right, my number 2 bounce back, Matty Ice.
All right.
The Indianapolis Colts.
I'm here for it.
He needed an exit from the Atlanta Falcons in the worst way. 4 consecutive losing seasons, but we don't care about the team records here. But Matt Ryan had 4 weeks last year where he was in quarterback 1 territory, compared to 10 weeks where he was quarterback 18 or worse. Yikes. Last season was the first time that he had not thrown for at least 4,000 yards since 2011, and he had an extra game to work with. He had 7 games where he failed to top 200 yards passing. His passing yards per game were the lowest since 2010. He only threw 20 touchdowns last season in a 17-game season. 5 games, he didn't throw a single touchdown pass. And after failing to acquire Deshaun Watson, Atlanta went into full rebuild mode, and fortunately, they granted Matt Ryan a trade to the Indianapolis Colts. So this is an instant upgrade when it comes to offensive line. It's going to keep them protected. It's an instant upgrade to the skill position players around him. You're thinking Jonathan Taylor's still going to do JT things. You have Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce, which is a very nice duo to be throwing to, not to mention some of the athletic tight ends they have on their roster. With Mo Alley Cox, they have Jelani Woods. And maybe, just maybe, we can see Julio Jones in a Colts uniform this season. Who knows?
We'll see.
It could happen. But I think it's an instant upgrade all around. And especially on defense, the talent with the Colts is far greater than the talent with the Falcons. And you might not think that's important, but keep in mind, that's going to help determine field position.
All right.
So put him into shorter fields, won't have to have as many long drives. Now, I'm not saying that Matt Ryan's going to get back into the MVP mode. I'm not saying he's going to get there, but he's in a much better position to be in a quarterback 2 territory and that streamer territory. And he has some sneaky quarterback 1 upside.
All right, so do you have any more?
Not for Matt Ryan.
All right. No, I mean for another player.
No, not for bounce backs. It was just Tua and Matty Ice.
I have 3. But I have 2 question marks. I know technically I have 4, but I have 1 that's a true question mark, and 1 of my 3 I have a question mark. So let's start with my top bounce back. And this one has to happen. If it doesn't happen, he's done. And that is Jameis Winston. I mean, just like Tua, the stars aligning here. They are showing that they're basically going all in with Jameis. Now Michael Thomas is supposed to be coming back. They signed Jarvis Landry. They draft Chris Olave. They get another offensive tackle to play out. I mean, they're making it so that Winston has every opportunity to succeed.
The only question I have about Jameis is Sean Payton is no longer around. You still have Pete Carmichael as the offensive coordinator.
Yes.
So you still have that consistency. But how important or how integral was Sean Payton to Jameis Winston
Doesn't matter.
being efficient when passing the ball? Because we don't want the 30-30 season.
No. But I mean, it's not Bruce Arians. Anyway.
No
I'm just saying.
biscuits,
I mean,
no
it's put up or shut up here. Next up. My next guy that I want to put out there for bounce back, who was it? Jared Goff, another one of those guys. Again, look at the weapons here. Amon-Ra St. Brown broke out. Got T.J. Hawkinson. They just drafted Jameson Williams. I mean, this team is set up to be something. If Jared Goff is going to show he is who he's supposed to be, this is it. This is where you do it, bruh. But I do think that Detroit can put up some fantasy numbers. So as long as Jared Goff is just good enough to get the ball in the hands of the players, he can put up some nice stats.
Just don't throw the ball away on 4th down.
Don't be stupid. All right, and now my first question mark one, who I still think counts as a possible bounce back, Russell Wilson. He had a down year for him last year. I think he comes back, and I think he puts up some numbers in Denver.
He could. We're looking at last year, Russell Wilson had 3,100 yards, which is...
That's a down year for him.
It was not just a down year, it was the lowest of his career.
Mm-hmm.
He had 25 touchdowns, which almost seems par for the course when you average it out.
How many rushing?
Interceptions were down. How many what?
Rushing.
How many rushing yards? Let's see if we can find. Last year, he had under 200, which is the first time in his career he's been under 200. Still put up 2 touchdowns on the grounds.
No, so, let's just say this.
I can see that.
I know you were poo-pooing the Denver for not taking offensive line, but their offensive line, even how it is still better than Seattle's offensive line.
Not anymore, yeah.
2, the weapons probably on par, maybe better in some regards, especially the running backs. Good Lord.
Well, I think the big difference is Pete Carroll wanted to run the ball. He was just dedicated to running the ball, and almost to the detriment of his quarterback not allowing him to throw the ball. But I think in Denver, it's going to be a more open offense. He'll be able to air it out more.
Now, the big question, this is the question mark one. Does it count to say Lamar Jackson?
He was coming off an injury, so we could consider this part of the bounce back
And he did have
category.
some subpar performances.
Yeah.
Not to his fault, but sometimes to his fault. I think you can count him, but it's not like he's going to be drafted low. I could see Russell Wilson drafted low because of, last year. I can see that.
Oh, yeah. Lamar Jackson has far too much rushing upside to fall outside of top 5 quarterbacks getting drafted.
All right, next up, last one.
We have busts. Now, remember in the beginning when I gave the definition of busts, people who just don't perform, they have the opportunity, and those who are not going to meet the expectations of their draft positions. Okay. So just want to remind everybody of that, because I don't want to be attacked. Because the first guy...
Come with it! Try it!
The first guy is going to trigger. He is going to
I'm saying
trigger.
they all suck.
All right. All right.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Joe Burrow.
Woo!
Right?
He's starting out with the fire!
And it's not a hot take. It's not that I think Joe Burrow will not play well. It's not that I think he's going to be a disappointment necessarily.
You think it's regression to the mean?
But I don't think he's going to match last year's numbers and efficiency. And that's where people are going to place that ADP, because recently I've been looking at early ADPs. I've been seeing him go in the 5th round as a top 5 quarterback being drafted. And for me, that's a little bit rich for a quarterback who hasn't shown that much rushing upside. When you look at last year, he completed 70% of his passes, which led the league. And it was fantastic. Threw for 4,600 yards, had 34 touchdowns. On the surface, those were all great numbers. But for me, I dove in a little bit deeper, and I looked at the numbers, and I had to separate the regular season from the fantasy postseason. Nearly 1,000 yards, and 8 of those touchdowns came in the final 2 weeks that he played, which were weeks 16 and 17, which would be the postseason. So that means that almost 1/5 of his stats, over 20%, came from 2 games. And I mean, he showed out for you if you start him in the playoffs, but there are 2 questions there. Did you start him in the playoffs, and did you even make the playoffs? Because during the fantasy regular season, he was only averaging 260 yards and less than 2 touchdown passes per game. And that was good for quarterback 12 in terms of average points per game. He finished with 6 quarterback 1 scoring weeks during the regular season. The other 2 came during the playoffs. But I can see why people want to buy in on the potential, buy in on the hype. But given that they're facing a more challenging schedule this season, at least on paper, I don't think Joe Burrow repeats his success. And I think he's in store for regression. And I don't think he finishes as a top 5 quarterback, which is where I've been seeing him go. And that's why he's on my bust list. I think there's going to be the regression there. Not that I don't like him, not that I think he's bad, but he's not going to have the same stats as last year.
You want to draft him.
I would not draft him in the 5th round. I wouldn't draft him as a top 5 quarterback going off the board. That's
all right, who's your next guy?
Aaron Rodgers.
Woo!
And it's similar to Joe Burrow. Aaron Rodgers is the back-to-back MVP. Green Bay's offense has played well without Davante Adams in small spurts, a very small sample size. But during those times, Green Bay's offense was spread out a little bit more. Now we get to see what life is like without Davante. Based on the offseason moves, like signing defensive free agents, drafting some pretty good offensive lines to make sure we have a solid rotation, I expect the Packers to rely on the ground game a little bit more and rely on their defense to win games. I don't expect Aaron Rodgers to become a game manager. He'll still get his, but the expectations have to be tapered. I think there's going to be less hero ball that he has to play out there because the game's not all going to come down to his arm.
We'll see how it goes.
I don't think he reaches last year's efficiency. Last year he had 4,100 yards, 37 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. I expect the offense to continue to spread the ball around. In Davante's absence, I expect there to be more use out of the running backs. I can see Aaron Jones being used a little bit more as a receiver, giving the ball to A.J. Dillon more with rushing attempts. Having a healthy Big Bob Tonyan back could go a long way with that offense, but I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is going to finish in quarterback 1 territory. And at this point, we don't even know what the Green Bay Packers wide receiver depth chart looks like.
Right. So, do you have anybody else?
Nope, just those 2 guys bound for regression.
So why don't you like Aaron Rodgers? I mean,
What's that?
so why don't you like Aaron Rodgers? I mean, all right. Well,
I know, and that's what people are going to take away from this. They don't like him. Like, no.
I guess I'm the Debbie Downer of the bunch because I got 4.
Debbie Downer, man. I gave Joe Burrow and Aaron Rodgers. I don't think you can Debbie Down that more.
I got 4, and then I've got 2 players just as a bonus, just to avoid.
You're just throwing everybody out there.
So my first one I'm going to talk about, Mac Jones. No, this is going to be bad. So Mac Jones, we saw him regress late in the year, big time. His numbers were atrocious late in the year. 2, now we've got a battle for the offensive coordinator spot from 2 guys that never played, never called offenses. What is this nonsense?
What is it, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge? So we can expect Mac Jones, when backed up against his own goal line, we could expect him to run quarterback sneak from the victory formation 2 plays in a row. His rushing total is going to take a hit, yes.
And then you've got players like how Mac Jones getting the ball? Like what is the point of what's his name? Was it Tyquan Thornton?
Thornton, yep.
People talk about Tua. Mac Jones ain't getting the ball out to that dude. so that's my first one. My next one, Ryan Tannehill.
Why do you hate Ryan Tannehill so much?
I mean, I'm gonna own this. I'm not a fan of Ryan Tannehill whatsoever. I think he's overrated. I think he found a very good offense to play in, and he plays within the structure. But whenever he's asked to do more, it turns out poorly, and he's going to need to be asked to do more because they have who at wide receiver. Don't get me wrong, I'm not poo-pooing on Treylon Burks. I like Treylon Burks. There's no way he does enough to make up for A.J. Brown being gone, Julio Jones being gone. Derrick Henry's coming back, but who knows what Derrick Henry is going to be like coming off of that injury. And then, on top of that, teams are going to be stacking this box even more because it's like, all right, Ryan, beat us. Just like they did in the playoffs. And, what did he do? Threw 4 interceptions. That's my problem with Ryan Tannehill.
You don't have faith that Treylon Burks, Robert Woods, and Kyle Phillips will be able to be the best wide receiver trio in the NFL?
I'm going to answer a question with a question. How you feel about that? Exactly.
Well, I look at my own wide receiver roster and depth chart in Green Bay.
Yeah, and you'd probably still take it.
I probably would. I do like those receivers more. That's
all right,
true.
My next one is a trigger. And I think Catty Daddy, I'm surprised Cat Daddy didn't select this dude for a possible bust, considering how much last year he would poo-poo on this player. Who is it? And how much this offseason you've poo-pooed this player?
I got 2 guys in mind. Are we talking Kyler Murray?
Kyler Murray!
In my list. He's number 3. Yeah.
Kyler Murray, I think, is going to have... I think he's going to try, but I do not think he's going to have a good year. I really don't. I think he's going to have a very bad year.
Yeah, it's not looking too good for him. You're thinking you're missing DeAndre Hopkins for the first 6 weeks. You normally start out
and you
strong,
have a rough schedule. This is not an easy schedule.
And then you normally fade at the end of the season. It's not looking too good, but that rushing ability is what keeps that floor a little bit higher.
A little bit high, but he's still going to be overdrafted, like you were saying. He's going to be overdrafted. I don't think he's going to put up the numbers to support. Like last year, he did. He put it up. But this year, no way. I don't see it. And last but not least, I'm putting Kirk Cousins. We've seen Kirk Cousins regress every year. We've seen him regress every year. And I mean, don't get me wrong, he'll put middling stats up, but
Hold on. In 3 of the last 4 seasons, Kirk Cousins has thrown for over 4,000 yards and at least 30 touchdowns in 3 of the last 4 years.
And I'm saying that it's not going to happen.
Okay. You don't think with Kevin O'Connell as
I'm saying
head
it's
coach?
not going to happen.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm standing on that. I'm standing on that one too.
I like Kirk Cousins going into this year.
He's at the bottom of my list for bus. He's at the bottom of my list. I could be very wrong about Kirk Cousins. I could be. That's the one that I'm not really going to jump on my soapbox for. You know, but he's still on my list. I would draft Kirk Cousins if I had no other options.
If there were no other quarterback that had a heartbeat or a pulse on the draft board.
No, don't get what I mean. If I had no other legitimate options, so if it's like rookies and, you know, my ones to avoid or like Daniel Jones, yeah, I'll go Kirk Cousins.
No, I'm liking Kirk Cousins this season. I hope when Kirk Cousins proves you wrong, he comes on this show and he says, "How you like me now?" Yeah.
Well, let's see. We'll see it. All right, then my 2 guys. I have 2 guys to avoid, and one of these guys I like. So I'm gonna start with the one I like, Justin Fields. Avoid Justin Fields at all costs. The Bears do not like him. The Bears hate Justin Fields because they gave him no help. They decided our defense is more important. No, our defense was already pretty good. You were a bunch of idiots.
Well, they gave him 4 offensive line on day 3, I think.
Do not make me cuss on the pod. Do not make me cuss on the pod. And then the other guy, Drew Lock. I'm sorry.
Man.
Avoid Drew Lock at all costs.
Unless you are in a super flex league and you are required to start multiple quarterbacks each week, or you're in a 32-team league and you're required to start 2 quarterbacks.
Triggered Cat Daddy.
You should not be drafting Drew Lock or Geno Smith. Stay away from the Seattle quarterback situation. I like the avoid category. We just have to give it something that starts with a B. Beware.
Beware.
We'll call it beware.
Buyers beware.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's definitely going to be Seattle and Carolina with Sam Darnold.
Well, we have articulated that enough. They don't know to stay away from Carolina. They ain't been listening. I'd stay away from Washington
beware.
Too. Carson Wentz. Ugh. But I'm buying every QB in the AFC West. Draft all of them.
And the first 4 rounds if you can.
All right, that's all she wrote, folks. Any more thoughts on this segment, Cat Daddy?
Nope, I'm glad I do have a final thought. I'm glad we gave the avoid a B title, buyer beware. That way we can have another one for next week. Are we talking running backs or wide receivers next week?
We're talking wide receivers next week.
Fair enough. Wide receivers it is.
All right. That's all she wrote, folks.